Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com, and this is your exclusive hour-and-a-half long, let's see, what do we call this? Discussion at Antonelli Institute that I got to speak in front of the graduating class as well as the undergrads for an hour and a half, answering all their questions, talking about marketing, talking about just any questions that they had. I gave real-world answers. I'm trying to get them ready for the real world, and this is the exclusive. Only way to get this audio is because you guys are subscribers here on FroKnowsPhoto.com/podcast. Not actually subscribers on the podcast on that website, but on iTunes or anywhere else that you listen to your podcast. So I really appreciate you guys being subscribers. Now, I want you to take a listen to this hour-and-a-half long thing. It was good. I know Steven, did you like it? Loved it. He learned a lot. Steven just said he loved it. He learned a lot. And it's good. It's real-world stuff, questions being asked by students coming out into the photography world, and just all in all, it was a really fun experience to get to speak. I love speaking in front of groups, and it's a great interaction when people can ask questions and you can give responses on the fly to their questions. Hopefully they learned a lot, and hopefully they're ready to get out into the world of photography. But here is the hour-and-a-half long speech that I gave to these kids in class and underclassmen and graduates, and now it's time for you guys to give it a listen. Enjoy. How's it going? Who's graduating? Who has a job? Drew has a lot of placement to do, I guess. Drew, you still on placement? All right. Well, I just like to talk. I've made postcards, so I don't, whatever. Postcards, I've got some photos to show. But this is a very open discussion. I like questions. Questions are the ways that we drive the conversation. So if you have something you want to ask, just raise your hand, wave it a few times, and we'll get to you. And Sam, don't say a word. You just sit there. Yeah. Oh, I got music. I got photos here. All right. Let's just show this stuff. So, out of school, I didn't shoot music. Hey, slow down. Stop. Darn computers. I didn't shoot music. I shot sports when I went here. My whole portfolio was surrounded or encompassed the Philadelphia Flyers. I was shooting there. I had a season credential when I was 18 and 19, so I got to shoot 40 games if I wanted to. And when I created a portfolio for here, I had one of the teachers, well, she actually kicked me out of her portfolio class because she couldn't help me. So she sent me to another teacher, and the other teacher helped me out tremendously. Even though he was an architectural type photographer that shot 4x5, he was still able to kick my ass into gear and say, look, your portfolio, you're great at shooting action, you're great at shooting sports and freezing that moment, but you need to do something different. You need to be different from everybody else, which I'm obviously different and with the hair and all that, but I didn't have the hair then. I had these long mutton chops because I was trying to be different, which was bad. I had those, Drew, you remember those mutton chop things? Oh, remember what's his name who was in there who had the multi-shaved face? He had like multiple, anyway. So this teacher really helped me with my portfolio and helped me see the world different as a photographer. He said, you got to look behind the scenes. If everybody's over here, you need to go over there. And Drew did that as well. You know, try things that are different. If everybody's in the photo pit and they're all to the right or they're all in the center, go somewhere else because you don't want to have the same thing that they're going to have. But what Ed told me, he was like, look at what's going on behind the scenes. There is something other than the hockey game going on. So if I'm sitting there shooting the Flyers and there's a kid sitting next to me whose his reflections in the glass, I probably should have had that picture up here, but reflections in the glass, look for what's going on outside of the action. And that helps build the story. For me, photography is about telling a story with images. It's not just about one solid image. I don't want to have one image that defines everything I do. I want to show a book of 20 images or 40 images that tell a story of what I captured from start to finish, from the wide angles to the tight shots to the just off-the-wall things, because it's about being different. You have to differentiate yourself from everybody else in this room because there are a lot of photographers trying to do what we are going to do. And sometimes the best photographers don't become the people that get the gigs. Oh, and this stuff doesn't show up too well on here. Anyway. Just want to go through some of these. You can see them, sort of. Not really. That's because I put on these overhead lights for video. Yeah, you can see that. It's amazing. Look at these amazing, amazing. Well, Perry Farrell, I got this tour. I got a friend who ended up being Perry's guitar player for one of the tours, and Perry said that he needed a photographer. So I got a call one day, and it goes, "Hey, man, what are you doing for the next 6 weeks?" I'm like, "Touring with you?" He goes, "Yeah." So then I showed up. I was like, all right. All he did was see my work once, and I sat on his bus, and he's like, all right, you're leaving with us tonight. So I went home, grabbed all my clothes for 6 weeks, and ended up rolling out on a tour. So that was pretty awesome. You know, Perry is one of the originators of alternative music, and it was just interesting to roll out of bed, you know, in my bunk and just see him standing there in his underwear most of the time. So that was fun. But getting the access, getting something that's different than what everybody else can get. Not everybody can shoot behind the scenes. Not everybody can get to where other people aren't. And that is my thing. Ask for permission. You know, there's somebody sitting here right now who called a photographer recently. How many times did you call him, Sam? Or email him until you got permission to go shoot at the church? 2 or 3, right. I heard you were persistent. This guy, Dominic Episcopo, owns a church. He has this church that's 15,000 square feet that's a studio, and it has apartments, and it's amazing. And I guess Sam heard him on one of my podcasts, so I heard that Sam went and did that, so I texted Dom, and he's like, yeah, he's a persistent kid. So yeah, persistent. Then don't be a pain in the ass, though. You know, don't be a pain. But you have to ask. If you don't ask, Drew, what are you doing? That's called spraying and praying. Basically, do you know what you're going to get from that? Drew, holding a stick up in the air. That's great. Huh? What is that? See, we shot film back in the day. We didn't have this burning worm. I don't know. But anyway. So my whole thing is capturing the stuff that other people don't capture. Having Perry ironing his clothes. You know, Perry just doing his thing with making these hats and in the mirrors and laying on his wife, or her laying on him. When I walked in on them, I walked into the dressing room. I just was like, oh, I think we were at playing with the Smashing Pumpkins, and it was like, I just walked in, and I'm like, oh, hey. And they're like, no, stay. I'm like, all right. So I laid down on the floor. and then you get stuff like this. This is shot with, at the time I had a D2X, so everything was like 1200 ISO, 1250 was the max you could do with that. But it doesn't matter. Sometimes the gear isn't what it's all about. It's what you're capturing. Sure, better gear helps you do your job. Like I have a D4, and that's what I shoot with. And I think that helps me, you know, push the limits of photography because I know how to work that camera. I know all my settings. I know what I'm doing. It helps what I'm doing. So it helps me set myself apart. Because I remember when I bought a D2H. The only thing out before that was like a D100. Anybody ever shoot with a D100? Okay, wow. So that gets 1 frame a second in RAW because you have to wait, right? It was the 10 seconds you have to wait every RAW picture. It's 1 second, and then it has to write to it. Yeah. Well, I didn't want that at the time. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Where was I going with this? Here, D2H. I bought my first. I don't know where I was going. I'm skipping that. Forget that. But this is the stuff. When you're on the road with people, you get an intimate look at what they're doing. And this is one of my favorite types of photographs. It shows everything that's going on in the dressing room. You have all of the clothes that he gets to choose from. It's all laid out for him to wait. They had a balcony at this place. This is in Pomona. It's actually where I bought my jacket. I love this jacket. It was $35, and I bought it in Pomona on tour. That was great. You get to vintage stores. Everybody likes going to vintage stores when you find them. But this type of stuff helps tell a story. In the pit, he's not on stage. I'm in the pit. He's in front of me. This shot. They were, I don't know, we had to set it up and we had fun. Stuff like this. Who's behind the stage? I only almost got into one fight on this tour. And I don't like fighting, but I was in LA and it was the end of the tour. And when you're on the road, after 6 weeks, you get a little short-fused. Some guy cursed at me. He's like, Who are you? And I have an all-access pass to do whatever I want, and he's stopping me and grabbing my arm, and I'm like, screw you. But in other words, and yeah, we almost got in a fight, but that was all right. He had a poncho on. I don't know what he was thinking, but the tour manager got there, pulled him away, and told him it was all right that we could be there. This is Jim Marshall. Anybody know Jim Marshall? Raise your hand. Anybody? Own it. Where? Yeah, own it. Like, own it. Like, I have this thing, if somebody asks something, like, own it. I go, yeah, me. Because what? What is this? You know, hey, I don't own it. Yeah, own it. There, 2 fists, but you should be going like this. Anyway, Jim Marshall, he got this nose from a bunch of fights. Anyway, Jim passed away. I met Jim when I was on tour with Perry Farrell, and that's part of the whole networking thing, which we'll get to as we go on. I know this is slow to start. Drew, how much time do I have to speak? Yeah, right. So I really didn't know Jim Marshall personally. I didn't know the guy. But I knew of the work. And when they introduced me to him, well, he was drinking his scotch, which he normally did. And I showed him a book of photos. This was 2007. And I had, I carried around a 4x6 book. Just, we didn't have iPhones yet. No, I did have an iPhone. I had the original iPhone. And we would show it. I showed him my work, and he just kept slapping me in the face. He's like, I love your work. And he was just like, I love it. And then he gave me the finger. And I took his picture because that's just like the photo that he has in Folsom Prison of Johnny Cash, which I'm sure he was asked 1,000,000 times to take. But I stayed in touch with him. He gave me his number, and you could call and get this guy on the phone. He took the Johnny Cash photos at Folsom Prison. He took Janis Joplin's photos. He probably slept with her, too. I never asked that. Yeah, I think they were neighbors. But he took just amazing. 1972 Rolling Stones tour, 74 tour. He says he barely remembers those 2 weeks because they were so coked out. But I mean, look at his nose. His thing was guns, drugs, and booze, and his cameras. I mean, but that was the 70s. And I'll tell you, I don't do any of this stuff on the road. I see what's going on the road, but I am a photographer there to capture what's going on. You're not really there to join the party. Remember that. I mean, that's wrong. You know, if you watch Almost Famous, they tell you you're not there to join the party. But really, as a human being, you should really... Being on tour with Perry Farrell is interesting because, yeah, there's a lot of aroma when you sit in the back of the bus and it's just... You fall asleep and then you get paranoid. But anyway, we were going over the mountains in California, and I just felt like my head was going to explode one night. I didn't know why, but I guess I realized that it was seeping into my bunk. And we're back to the beginning of that. But the whole reason I'm showing these pictures is the first thing I have on a card is establish credibility. That is your job. You have to establish credibility with your work. If nobody can see your work, they're not just going to take your word for it. The first thing you want to lead with is your work. Show people what you have. Let them see that you do a great job and you have a cross-section of things that you can do. You know, once you establish, like, did this establish anything? Did anybody like these stuff, the shots that you could see? You could say no. Anybody own it?
I'll say yes.
Thanks. Right. So that's just establishing some credibility is what you need to do. Because if you have, well, how many people here have their own website? How many people just put their stuff on Facebook and call that their website? Who's going to own it? Come on, own it. It's all right. It's not really all right, but how many people have MySpace and put it on MySpace? See, I was on, MySpace. That was the thing. Musicians, right? MySpace. Musicians would make their website just MySpace, but what they don't realize is that there's a way that when you take your own website, it's your home. It's your space. You can do different things on there that you can do than you can do on other social media. It's great to be on social media. That's part of marketing and branding, which we'll get to. But you really need your own home base. You need a place to send people that's yours. You don't want to send them to Facebook. Plus, Facebook doesn't look good. It's not set up to be a photographer's portfolio. It's great to help you get your work out there, but it's also not, a great place to send people to look at a clean place to see your concise work. Do we have any questions yet? No. Portfolios. I don't want to get to that yet. So we've established some credibility. Own it. Take your credibility. Now I got something else. Now I got something else. Let's see. We'll run through these. Emotion. All right. We can see these up here? All right, so capturing emotion, right? If you can capture images that exude something, that draw you in, that elicit a response visually. Photography, you'll hear people say that it will go away to video, but video doesn't capture a moment. It doesn't freeze it and let you make your own judgment for what's going on. We saw that in Boston. We saw that with the bombings. We saw the videos of the guy running down the street, the bomb goes off, and he falls over. But then when you see the cover of Sports Illustrated, where the guy's on the ground, the lady has her gun drawn, it's different. It captured something. So these are very emotional pictures. My mom went into the hospital here, and it was like, we didn't know what was going on yet. But I took my camera. HIPAA said you're not allowed to shoot your photos. I said, fuck you. I'm doing whatever I want. I mean, who cares? What are they going to do, arrest me for taking pictures? Did I just get a knock for cursing? Earmuffs. We'll beep it later. But no, but that's just like, when people are going to tell you you can't do things, what is the problem with anyway, it's my family. I can do what I want. I did it. They're like, well, let's see if we can get permission. Whatever. They didn't get permission. But I was shooting these pictures. I didn't know why yet. My mom was going to the hospital. We didn't know what was going on. So she was just letting me shoot. And then we found out she was diagnosed with cancer. And so then I hid behind the camera. Hiding behind the camera is what I did. Yeah, it's emotional. But does this elicit a response? I mean, this is a photo story. This is something that I have on my site. It's there for people to watch and hear that it's okay to show emotion. It's all right as a person to show emotion. Even people tell you that guys don't cry and all that. That's all bullshit. If you watch any athlete that retires, they cry every time. They remember everything that they did and all the good times. It's all right to show emotion. We're emotional people. Don't lock yourself away. Be yourself. And just, if that's you, if you're emotional, show the emotion. There's nothing wrong with it. So I went through here and just started to capture it. She was diagnosed the day before her 60th birthday, so we had the birthday in the hospital. That's Lil. Anybody know Lil? Sam, you know Lil. Some people know Lil. My grandmother, she's 102. She's still with us. That's my mom's mom. But, I was just taking the pictures. My brother and sister-in-law, grandmother. You can't really see the colors. That sucks. Who turned on these lights? Me. I did. I'm owning it, right. So I took her for her first day of chemo, and I took the camera. Then the next day, my parents were going to a bar bat mitzvah, so I was just shooting, documenting what was going on. I'm telling the story of what's there. The colors look much better than this. But then, fast forward 7 months, and now my mom's in bed. They're just hanging around. She's not really getting better. And this is like 2 weeks before she died. So we got like all the medication, and she's just sleeping, and I just walked in and I took pictures. She didn't really, it's not that she didn't want me to take pictures. She understood why I was doing it. It was like one of those things to hide my emotions. I felt like I had to be the strong one because my dad was dealing with it, and everybody deals with it differently. So I hid away my emotions by taking pictures, which isn't the best thing to do. This was a couple weeks. This was like a week before she passed away or so, or 2 weeks. But yeah, she's just in the kitchen. And at first she told me not to take the pictures, and then she said, yeah, you can go ahead. And then she was just cold, couldn't get warm. And this is the last shot at home, and then the last shot. So, emotion. Yeah, it still hits me every time. It's like, it doesn't matter how many times you go through these pictures. It's a story. It's emotion, and that's, if you can capture images that elicit some kind of emotional response, you're doing something right. Don't set out to just take snapshots. Capture moments of what's going on. Don't spray and pray. We're in a world where there's so many photographers just putting cameras on sticks and letting it take a picture. And it's just like, you don't see what you're going to get. That's all right, Drew. Where's Drew? There he is. He's going to do it again. You know, spraying and praying is just one of those things. When we were shooting film, and not to just always go back to film, how many people have, well, you've all shot film here, but when you spray and pray, you're not exactly getting a moment. You're just hoping that you get something. Now, you can't hope that the photo gets there. Preparation gets you the luck. You know, people tell you that you get lucky when you get a shot. There's lucky shots on occasion, but sometimes you're lucky because you're good. You tell people that, and they think you're arrogant. They think that you're full of yourself, which is true sometimes, but you have to be. You have to be confident in the work that you do. And you don't get just lucky. On occasion, you get that lucky shot. I remember Drew telling us a story back in school about, what's Darth Vader's name? James Earl Jones. He was at a college. What was that? Darth Vader, thank you. James Earl Jones was at a college, and a kid walked up with a Darth Vader costume on. And Drew, did you take that picture? Well, you were with Carl Wolf, right, at the time? So, yeah, you were shooting that. But where was I going with that? Where am I going with any of it? I have no, yeah, preparation. Yeah, Drew didn't get lucky. He was prepared to get that shot. It presented itself. What? 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 Making fun of me? That's not nice. Drew was prepared to get the shot. So that's where I'll go with that. But, I mean, I wrote down emotion here. What else did I write? Did I write something on the back? I'm blind, by the way. I can't see anything. And I take pictures. Yeah. Yeah, so emotional shots. Just, to me, it's like a photo story. You show somebody wedding photos, and I've shown people wedding photos. Oh, sorry, Stephen, I'm moving. He's got to follow me back there. When you can sit down and show somebody your wedding photos of a wedding that they weren't there and they end up crying, you know you've done something right. They feel, if somebody tells you, I felt like I was there, I really felt like that was my wedding, or I would love that to be my wedding, that's something you should strive to capture. Emotional images. Tell stories. Sure, there's those images that are just solid, those one shots. Where was that other shot of Perry I wanted to show, now that I think about it? Well, anyway, I skipped it. Yeah, what else do I have here? Oh, perception. Perception. I walk into a corporate client. Do you think I'm going to get a job looking like this? Maybe. Maybe if my work presented itself well. But there's perceptions out there. You know, how are you perceived as a photographer? How are you perceived as a person? Perception is a major thing. You know, Sam Green puts on a tie today, and he thinks it's going to make him sound better. Is that the case? It doesn't hurt. You know, you're presentable. Now, but that's not always the case. This is now my outfit. This is what I wear. I wear jeans and I shoot raw shirts wherever I go. With meetings at fancy restaurants, I'll wear this. This is my thing, and people know it. I've got the hair. That's my thing. I'm forced to, not forced, but I choose to wear it up. That's also part of branding and marketing. But perception is so important. Oh, yes. I know where I was going with that. So shooting weddings. How many people have shot weddings here? Right. We know how it goes. When you get to the party and you've got like an hour left, they haven't cut the cake yet, you're hanging around, everybody's drunk. Does anybody use those pictures of the party? It's rare, right? We know that those pictures are kind of wasteful, but should you be standing out at the bar drinking or out front smoking? No, the perception is that you're not there, you're not doing your job. What I do is I'll stand there with my camera by the dance floor, making it look like I'm doing something. I know I'm not going to, I'll take a couple pictures here and there, but I've already captured some great shots throughout the day, and I know that these are just going to go and not really be used. But I'm prepared if something does happen. But more than anything else, it's the perception that the bride and groom can look from anywhere in the room and see that I'm standing there and looking like I'm doing my job. The mother of the bride and groom and the father of the bride and groom, they can see me there. So it's the perception that you're being seen as working hard. You know, yes? No, good question. In the wedding contracts, when I was doing weddings, I occasionally take them now, it said hair up or hair down. So they got to choose. I wear all black. I'll wear black dress pants, nice shoes. I'll dress up for that. That's where you dress up. But I leave my hair up or down. I mean, I'm not going to get in the way with my hair. You know, I remember shooting some internet marketing events, and I would sneak my way up the aisle or sneak my way back down, and I'm like, who am I kidding? I have an afro. They're going to see me. You know, it's just like, just walk. You know, they're going to see you. That's okay, but you want people to see you. You want them to remember that you were there. It's that whole perception of you're working hard. At an end of a wedding, when the bride comes up or the parents come up and go, you did a fantastic job. You were all over the place. They haven't seen your work. But you've done half the battle there. You've been perceived as doing a great job. That's really good. So another thing to do at weddings, or just in general with your clients, capture whatever you're going to capture, but don't forget to go up and say, is there anything else you need? Is there anything I can get that you think you would like? Because you need to tell me certain things. A lot of times I go out on shoots and a lot of the clients are like, do what you do. I'm like, okay, I'll do what I do, but I try to give them a lot of options. To me, it's about options. Give them what they want, but then give them what you think they need. Because sometimes what they want isn't what they really need. So shooting and capturing multiple angles is really important. That's where we're at with perception. But yeah, looks. Look presentable. I guess it depends. I mean, it depends what you're doing. And I got stand out and be different. Yes, it's a noisy world of photographers. There are a lot of people that can take pictures or snap buttons or spray and pray and get jobs, right? What are you going to do to stand out, to be different from everybody else? You know, what can you do? What are some things that anybody's doing in here to be different from everybody else? Drew?
Looking outside the box.
Looking outside that box. Are you locked in a box? Sometimes? We all get locked in a box sometimes. But, you know, standing out is for me, what it's all about. Now, you don't always have to stand out. Some people are going to get the corporate photo gigs where you are working for somebody. That's just for some people. There are photographers that can be very successful doing that and like the regimentation of the 9-to-5 job. That's perfectly fine. Other people don't want to be held back by somebody telling them when they have to eat lunch or go and do certain things. But there's a place for everybody as a photographer. It's just you have to find where you fit, and you have to beat the crap out of it to make it work. And that's what it comes down to. There's 3 types of people, right? Let me make sure I get it right. I don't want to screw it up. My dad actually wrote me a letter back in the day when I was after college and I was just sitting there trying to figure out what I was going to do with myself, because I sat around for a while hoping that people would find my website, I'm like, I have great work, but why aren't people hiring me? Because you can't hope that to happen. You know, you have to do something in order to get people to see what you're doing. So the 3 types of people, there's people who make things happen, there's people who let things happen, and there's people who wonder what the hell happened. There. Is that better? Yeah. So, you know, you have to figure out which one are you, you know? Are you going to make something happen? You have to make it happen. There are so many people trying to do what you want to do, but you have to be the one that's going to make it happen. You know, you find your way. You can do just about anything you want these days. There's access to anybody. You want to get to a professional photographer and be an assistant? Knock on their door. Don't just send emails. Do something that other people aren't doing. Send them postcards. I was thinking that to get back into shooting certain things, I'd just start sending photo editors hair pics with nothing else. But I'd send them like 5, and I'd send it over a 2-week period. And then at one point, maybe I'll just give them my information. But at least I tease them with hair pics. I have 1,152 hair pics. I buy them by the 1,152 because we stamp them and give them as added value when we send out shirts. People buy it and they get hair pics. But this is just something that somebody's going to remember. It's a part of branding and marketing. You remember this. You remember my butt, my hair pick. You know, you remember that stuff. That's part of what you're creating. Because today, branding and marketing is more important than ever. And that comes back to having your own website. But you also need to be in the social sphere. You need to be pushing things out there. How many people are afraid to put their work on Facebook without a watermark? Own it. Gosh. Yeah, that's good. Why are you afraid? They don't own it. They don't own it. That's like say it was the whole Instagram thing saying that Instagram owned your work. They have the ability on Facebook to allow it to be used for advertising when it's advertised to your friends. I've seen it, and to me that's fine. But by not showing your work, are you limiting yourself? You know, people have to see what we do. And there's always that dilemma. Do you put a watermark on an image? Do you not put a watermark on an image? I've started to really not put watermarks on images because if somebody wants to get rid of it, we've got the content-aware fill. They're going to get rid of your watermarks. You know, just let your stuff get out there so people can see it and come back. You know, make sure you're tagged in it. It's just simple social media practices. Make sure you're tagged in what you're doing. Make sure they give you photo credit. Make sure they don't crop your work. There's nothing more than I hate than somebody taking my work and doing something else to it. So that's different when you're working for a client. They sometimes want to take, that was not a good picture, that last one, Drew. Sometimes they need to crop your work for magazines, but I personally don't crop. Any of the pictures that you've seen, none of them have been cropped. That's just my way of shooting, is I don't crop. I like to make sure try to make sure I have the right lenses on for what I'm shooting. And it's just a feel for the situation and things that I'm shooting, because I don't like cropping. I feel that it's taking away from the quality of the work. But you can learn a lot from the cropping. Where was I, Drew? I was where we were at Facebook, right? Putting your work out there. I think it's important to put your work out there. Get it out so people can see it. The more they see it, the more they perceive that you are a working photographer, because perception is everything in what we are doing. If you do a job for somebody, you shoot their kid or their dog or something like that, and they put it up, give them the photos to put on Facebook. Let them put it out there. Let them tag you, because now their whole social sphere is seeing work that you did. Somebody else may have a dog, and they go, oh, I want to know who did that, and then you will shoot it. I mean, it's just basic social media, how things spread. How things spread out there today. People see it, they want to know who did it. There's a lot of people doing it, but get it out there, you have a better chance, because one thing leads to another. You photograph the dog, next you're going to be doing the family. You're going to be doing their family portraits for the holidays. One thing leads to another. You just have to get out there and do it. And to me, putting your work out there is extremely important. Does that make sense? Yeah? Am I boring the hell out of you? Like, anybody going to own that one? I mean, it's all right. I've bored people before. But yeah, any questions, Drew?
Do you have any advice? A lot of our graduates soon to be are experienced. Sometimes you'll have rejection if someone tells you not to.
I get rejected all the time.
How do you deal with it? Do you want to give them some coaching or some ideas?
How to deal with rejection?
Yeah, just when people say no sometimes, how to get back up and go again.
You get up and you go again. I mean, you just get back up and you go. You're going to miss it, but it was not for you. If they didn't pick you, they didn't pick you. Why? We don't know. Ask them. Ask them. What was... I like doing that. I like playing the opposite side of the coin. Like, what was it? Like, was it the way I looked? Was it my work? There's one thing you cannot tell me, that you didn't hire me because of the quality of my work. I may be too expensive. I may be too out there. But you cannot tell me that it wasn't my quality of the work. So find out what it is. You have to ask, why? What was it? But don't start changing your style or what you do because somebody tells you they didn't like it. A photo editor looking at your work, one may like it, the next may not. You sit here at Print Comp every year and you see what people vote on and you go, really? Right? Sometimes we've all done that. I sat here and did that. But you never know what somebody's going to like. So it doesn't make one thing wrong and it doesn't make one thing right. But just if you get rejected, find out what's up. If they'll answer, take it and go on, move to the next thing and just keep trucking along, because that's what you have to do. Come on, throw some questions before I get back to talking. I'm tired. I don't like talking so much. I mean, I do like talking, yes.
So I met you at the TLA when you were photographing
And was I drunk?
I don't know.
No, because I was shooting.
Exactly that, only it was yellow and
Well,
black, actually.
I wanted to stand out on the stage.
And you're in half my shots.
That's the point. Perception. You see me.
You were in the middle of telling me how you got hooked up with SelfPromotion when you had to go.
I slept with the lead singer.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
Is that how easy it is?
I fell asleep in his bed. I actually passed out in the bed one day. He didn't kick me out, so it was all right. How did I meet them? Well, the Silvertide story. Anybody care? This is a good story. Well, it's sort of a good story. Silvertide, anybody know Silvertide? Rock band. Own it. Thank you. I was not a fan early on. They had a lead singer that would run around the stage and you couldn't shoot him. We're shooting film at the time. Or with a D2H, you can't really go above 1,000 ISO with that thing with everything just looking terrible. So you're at like 60th of a second trying to get a guy running around the stage and then the guitar player doing all this crap, and it just was impossible. So I was going, anybody know Shinedown? So I toured with them, and they were coming back to town. They were going to Atlantic City, and I couldn't get in with them for some reason, so I made a contact to get in with Silvertide. And with Silvertide came an interview, which was supposed to be like 10 minutes with myself and Ari, who's a guy that works with me. We did a magazine together. We've been working together for like 12 years. And we went back to have an interview with Walt, who's the lead singer. And Walt said, "You are the best two-dress journalists I've ever met." I used to go to concerts in black slacks and bright-ass button-down shirts. I had mutton chops and a shaved head. But the perception was that we looked different than the other people that would come in. We weren't drunks, we weren't druggies, we were just there to do a job. We were there to hang out with the lead singer. And as the photographer, how many pictures do you think I took during that 45-minute interview? Anybody? How many? Just pick a number. 0. I took no pictures. I took no pictures because he just got done telling us that he hates journalists and that he doesn't get along with them and they're all backstabbers and he doesn't like them. So that meant I should leave my camera in the bag to let him get to know me and let him get to know Ari. So after 45 minutes of a 10-minute interview, he's like, "Here's my number. We're going to be going into the studio next week. I like you guys. You're easy to talk to. You're just normal people. I want to hang out with you." And that was the start of it. And then I slept with the lead singer. that was the start of it. We shot that night. I think I have a picture from, I think I do somewhere here. Or I don't know if I brought it or not. These aren't numbered or anything. Oh, I'll just show these while we're at it. This was the first concert I ever shot. First concert I ever shot, Counting Crows, 2003 Hard Candy Tour. I almost left with the opening act. I went backstage, knocked on their door, this guy Graham Colton, and I'm like, "Can I go on the road with you?" And if they didn't have their girlfriends in the van, I would have left with them. I don't know. I just walked backstage and knocked on their door. But this was the first show I ever shot. This is all film. This is Walt. I did a job up in Manhattan Center at the Hammerstein Ballroom. Anybody been there? It's this beautiful ballroom. They wanted me to shoot the place empty, and I said that would look terrible. So I just brought Walt up and told him to stand there, and it makes the shot so much better. Just because it would be an empty room if there wasn't somebody standing on the stage. Mariah Carey, this was for Rolling Stone. This was shot film 300 2.8 at the time. That's Kanye and Johnny Legend before he was even known. Let me get to that. This is a shot I took with Silvertide in the dressing room after the show. That was my first introduction to them, and that's what I captured. Which is great because you have everybody in the band, you've got all the beers, you got everything in there, and then I've toured with these guys and I continue to work with them. And where were we before we went into all of that? Right. That's how I got in with Silvertide. Any other questions? Come on. Somebody, throw them out there. Yeah.
So how's it all work when you go out with a band?
You make no money.
That was my...
Music doesn't pay. I'm looking at you. Music, see, and that leads into doing things that you may not like to make money in photography, or maybe not photography, in order to afford you to do the things that you love. Corporate gigs can pay well. There is nothing wrong with doing corporate gigs. There's nothing wrong with shooting weddings. If you could make $3,000 shooting a wedding, or you can assist somebody and make $300, $400, $500, $600, that allows you to take a job for a band and charge them $125. It's not a lot of money. I mean, I got a call yesterday from Billboard magazine, billboard.com. It's like, are you available to go shoot Sarah Bareilles tonight? We've got this much money. I said, do you have more? But then what I said to her, I said, look, whatever you've got, I want to shoot. You pick a number. If that's all you have, fine. I don't care, because that's giving me another in with these guys to shoot. I just want to shoot. I make money elsewhere. I can do other things to make money as a photographer. This is what I love doing. I love shooting bands. I love the all-access aspect of it. That is what drives me to keep capturing images. So it may not pay well. If you get on a major tour, they may pay you, but getting there is another thing, and they want to own everything, which in this day and age is an interesting thing. If somebody asks you to own everything, and that's the contingent upon getting the job, you can just say, look, I'll give you unlimited usage rights. I still own them. You can do whatever you want with them. I still own them. And that's just a way of saying, look, I'm going to let you do whatever you want with these images. It's just, I've done that with weddings. I don't know. What am I going to do with those wedding photos? Back in the day, nobody was like, no, you can't buy my negatives. They're my negatives. You have to be forced to pay $60 for an 8x10. Right? Todd, you remember those days? Was it 60 or was it more for an 8x10? Right. And it's just like, wow. And then I started to include certain things, putting together perceived value, like anything that is added value that you can do for somebody. I'm not going to use those images after a wedding other than for my website. So what I'm going to do is, this is what it's going to cost for me to come out and photograph. I'm going to include this in the image. You know, I'm going to give you a disc of all the high-res images. It's a little bit more, but I want you to have them because, just because. It just sounds good. Anything that you can add that's added value to clients just makes you stand out more than some other people. And that's added value to me is extremely important. Marketing and branding. I skipped adapt with the times. I don't want to skip that. Adapt with the times. They are a-changing, somebody once said. Digital. Every camera does video. Are you jumping into video? Are you doing it? Are you able to do it? If a client calls and says, you do stills, we need those, but we also need video, do you know the right people that you can bring in to do it? Can you do it yourself? Everything's changing. Well, everything is always changing. It's a constant state of movement. You have to adapt with the times. You have to stay educated. You can't just stop learning. You can't be like, I'm a purist, I shoot film, I shoot 35 millimeter. I have news for those people that think they're purists. They're not purists. If you're a purist, you would go back to a wagon and have a big, wet plate process going, and that's purist, or a daguerreotype. Then you're going to be a purist because you're taking it all the way back to the beginning. So if anybody tells you they're a purist, just smack them in the face. Except for Ian Reuter, who made a truck. Anybody seen Ian's stuff? I had him on Raw Talk, and he invited me out. So I got to go out there to make an episode with him of going shooting with his truck. But talk about standing out. Talk about doing something different than what other people are doing. He took a truck and made his own camera. And he has a wet plate process. And he made a video about it. And he put it online. He didn't even put it on YouTube, which he should have put it on YouTube. He put it on Vimeo, which isn't as large as YouTube. Go to where the people are watching your stuff if you want to get promotion. That's what I did to build what I built. But he put it out there. And then what's going to happen? He was so different than everybody else that everybody started calling. He's going to start getting corporate jobs. Coca-Cola is going to say, drive your truck around and take pictures of America. And there is nothing wrong with taking their money, because taking their money allows him to keep pushing his art. There's nothing called a sellout. Sellout is the biggest bunch of crap ever, because you have to survive as a photographer. You have to, or anything. You tell the bands are sellouts, or I get called I'm a sellout because I sell T-shirts, or I take some kind of sponsorship with people. You have to do what you have to do to push what you love doing. So Ian stood out. He did something extremely different, and he's going to be very, very successful at it because he did something that's just out there. But adapting with the times is extremely important. You have to keep learning what's going on. What's next? Be at the forefront. The Lytro camera, who loves that thing? Good, no hands went up. I mean, they gave me one. Does anybody know what it is? Right. I don't think you need to adapt with the times for that one. I don't think that's ever going to happen. But being at the forefront of what's going on, just be there and start learning what's up. And just keep learning. You can't stop learning. You'll be left behind. Marketing and branding. It's more important today than any other time. 20-some years ago, marketing and branding, you're shooting weddings, you're in your own area. Today, you're blogging and people are hiring you to fly all over the world to go do jobs. How are you putting yourself out there? How are people perceiving you again in your market, you know? How are you doing it? How are you getting your stuff out there? That's why you have your website. That's why you keep pushing your stuff out in social media. And this thing's rolling. Stop rolling. That's why you put your stuff out there. Marketing is extremely, extremely important. What are some things that you guys are doing now to market yourself? Anybody? Nobody is doing anything to market themselves? Yes?
Me and a previous business partner of mine are contacting different media services companies and giving them albums.
Giving them albums for?
Weddings, event photography, things like that. Try to see
So you're getting your stuff out there.
they can show them to clients and then hopefully we can get work.
You're putting your stuff out. I mean, that's one thing you can do. You find what works for you, what gets you out there. It's just, marketing is Frono's photo, you know? What is that? I got hair, but then I've got I can back up the work, you know? That's the other thing, is you have to be able to back up the quality of work that you do. If you don't have quality work, there are people that you run into. I mean, Drew knows this, and I have a friend that the day I met Drew before I even came into school was a photographer. He doesn't call himself a photographer. He calls himself a business person who pushes a button. He knows where he stands. But he schmoozes very well with people, and people like him. He's personable. I haven't been personable in the past, and I think that's hurt me getting certain gigs. But that was me. That was a learning experience. I had to learn how to interact with people, because if you don't interact with people, who's going to want to work with you? So you have to do that. But you're not always going to get those gigs, and there are those people that take what you may perceive to be subpar work, but they're doing a better job at branding and marketing themselves. So find out what works for you and get out there and do it. And you can't stop. And a lot of that is putting your work out there. How many people have the Facebook fan pages set up for what they do? And what is your way of asking people to like it? Do you ask people to like your page just out of nowhere? You're shaking your head no. There's a lot of people. I get 100 messages a week. Hey, like my page. Why the hell am I going to like your page? I mean, just asking me to do that, stand out, you know? Put something up that I want to like. You want to give people something to latch onto, and that's part of telling stories and creating emotional images. If you are a child photographer and you shoot children's portraits, or you do anything that you shoot, put up stories about what you are capturing. Get permission to put those photos out there. Give something to people to latch onto. If you give people something to believe in, they're going to keep coming back for more because they want to hear what you're going to do next. They want to see your work. And the perception is that if you keep putting up these awesome child portraits, somebody's going to tell their friend, or they're one day going to need the work that you're doing. Keep putting it out there. Keep telling stories, and don't stop. Once, you know, it never stops. You have to keep doing it, but you have to get out there and let people know what you're doing. Then they're going to start following what you're doing. I started with 0 YouTube subscribers. I started with 0 Facebook friends. I've got 175,000 YouTube subscribers now because people liked what I was doing. Some people hate what I'm doing, and they still like it just to be dicks and comment poorly. That's what people do on the internet. But it has to start somewhere. And I just started telling stories. I'm transparent. I have the story with my mom's photos on my About Me page of my website. People can watch that video and end up crying because that's what happens. I cried like 30 seconds into it. But, you know, be real. Be who you are. Just tell these stories, and that's what's up. Now I'm done. I'm not done. I got more. Self-promotion. Nobody's going to promote you better than yourself. That's part of the branding and marketing. Self-promotion. Tell people you're the shit. I want to hear everybody say, I am the shit. Yeah. No, nobody owned that. John, own it? No, own it. and we know it. But if you're not confident in the work that you're doing, or you don't believe in yourself, who else is going to believe in what you're doing? If you go in there and go, yeah, I'm okay. No, I'm very good. I'm really good. But here, let my work speak for itself. Because you could talk all day long, but if you can't back it up, then nobody's going to believe it. They may hire you once, and then if you do a crappy job, they're not going to hire you again. So, you have to promote yourself and act as if. What's act as if from? Sam? Stop falling asleep. Don't make me take my scholarship back. What? Boiler Room. I like that movie. But yeah, act as if. Walk into that place like you own it. But be respectful. Don't not be respectful. I walk into many concerts and venues and just walk around and like they should know me. And I get upset if they don't. Not like upset, but it's just like, you don't want to be that guy and be like, do you know who I am? I've never pulled that out. Because that doesn't mean shit. If they don't know who you are, you have to lead with your work. You don't know, oh, here, look at my work. I've done it like Papa Roach. I walked into their tour manager's room and I said, here's my work. I'd like to shoot you guys. I'd like to go on the road with you. I didn't end up on the road with them, which is fine, because I don't think anybody wanted to be on the road with them. But they saw the work and go, oh, I toured with this person. I toured with them. Oh, they're great. Now you have an instant rapport. Lead with that work, but act as if you believe that you are very, very good at what you do. We did that. Portfolio building. You guys just got done building portfolios, right? Yeah. How many people heard when you build a portfolio, people saying, lead with your strongest work, or finish with your strongest work? Anybody? I think that's a bunch of crap. Because what is your portfolio? It's your strongest work. Right? Why would you hide something in your portfolio? If you look at a picture and you go, I don't like this one, I'll hide it number 4. Why? Get rid of it. Fill it back with something that's better. It's your portfolio. You're in control of what people are seeing. It's how they're perceiving you based on how the work you put out there. That whole Mariah Carey, what's her name? Beyonce? She said no photographers allowed in the pit for her tour. Right? What do you think about that? She has a professional photographer in the pit. I see both sides of it because I've been in the pit for 12 years and I've seen how it changed from film to people holding iPads up and taking pictures. If you're using an iPad in the pit, I am going to walk in front of you because I need to get my shot. Now, I have no problem with Sam Green being in the pit. Sam will tell you I got him a pass to be in the pit. Bieber got a pass to shoot Matisyahu because I had an extra one. So they were in the pit with me. I have no problem letting people borrow gear for the opening acts. Like, I'll walk up to a kid that's got an 18-55 on his Nikon and be like, do you want to use the 24-70? And their eyes light up. You have to give back to everybody. There's something about letting somebody use that lens just for that and just seeing their eyes open up, and then you go, it's $2,000, you got to save up your money. But, where was I again? Beyonce. So, her saying that there's no photographers in the pit, I get it. She created more trouble for herself when those photos came out for the Super Bowl that weren't flattering. But was it her fault that those pictures weren't flattering? Whose fault was it? The photographer. Why did he put out shitty photos? That makes him look bad. That makes the artist look bad, and you're not going to get asked back to shoot. It's your job as an editor to put out the best work. Don't put out subpar work. If you put that out, that's how they're going to perceive you. I don't know why you would want to put out something that isn't good. And that screws over everybody else who wants to take photos. There are a lot of people who want to get into the photo pit. There are a lot of people that are trying, and the music industry has changed. You get 3 songs. Do you know why you get 3 songs? You've never asked? You've never questioned that bullshit of 3 songs and out?
No, because I've never had it happen.
Well, then you haven't been shooting big enough shows. You did have it happen.
Yeah, I didn't curse in front of John Hayden, or I just...
Who cursed in front of John Hayden? Me? Yeah. When did I curse?
Like 12.
Only 3. We're just counting. Hey, Drew. That's not going to be good because I moved. The 3-song rule. 3 songs. Well, back in like the 80s and 90s, the glam rockers would get all sweaty after a couple of songs. And they didn't want their picture taken looking like that, with their mascara running. But really, that is one of the reasons that everybody has told me. And I think it's a bunch of crap. The great stuff happens later on. But as you get in with certain artists, they allow you to do whatever you want. When I toured with Matisyahu, I was on, the tour bus sleeping next to him. I didn't sleep with him this time. I didn't have to sleep with him. And Matis, so let me just show some of these. I got so many of these cards on this. Get over here. So I wanted to shoot Matisyahu, and I got told no by his publicist. They said, "You don't work for a music outlet." I said, "What?" I said, "I have a larger following on my photo website than most music websites have. So maybe you need to think that I am going to reach more people, because everybody has ears unless you're deaf and you don't hear, unless you have a cochlear implant, and then maybe you can hear." I once said that about wheelchairs. Walk closer, anyway. Jaleel, you know Jaleel. Yeah, Jaleel's great. I was told, no, I can't shoot. So I had a couple of options. Show up at the show and walk my way in and be that guy, or I emailed directly to his manager. I found his MySpace page at the time, and it had his manager's email. So I wrote an email, and oh, by the way, here is a good practice for writing an email to somebody. Don't get superfluous. Don't be like, I'm a big fan, and write 4 paragraphs before you get to the point. Get to the point. I get 400 emails a day from readers. Get to the point of what you're looking for, ask for it, and back it up. So what I did was I wrote a quick intro. Hey, my name's Jared Polin, Philadelphia. I'm looking to photograph Matisyahu. Let me tell you what I'm looking to do. But first, here's some examples of other artists that I've toured with. Perry Farrell, so on as it, Shinedown, and just list that and show the work. Let them see it. And then I went into, I want to spend the day capturing images that nobody else gets access to do. I want to be on the tour bus. I want to do whatever he is doing. So I've never met Matis before. The manager got back to me and said, well, actually, before that, I said, I'm going to allow you, what I'd like to do it in basically trade. I'm not looking for you to pay me, because this is something I want to do. But what I will allow you to do is use some of those images for your website. Use it for promotion online. That is what I'm going to allow you to do. That gives me an in. So they ended up saying yes. I get on the bus, and Matis is sitting there just hanging out. This is before he shaved. And I said, is there anything off limits? He goes, you can shoot whatever you want. This was at the time, he's like, God sees everything, so why can't you? But anyway, so he said I could shoot whatever I want. There were no limitations to what I could do. And then a little later on, after we were done, and I'm just back there capturing shots like this, which look even better when you look at it on this screen over here, I asked him, I said, why did you allow me access? He goes, because my manager said you were the real deal. He said you weren't a fan just looking to get back here to take pictures. You had something different, and you do fantastic work. So because I led with the work, and I had the work to prove it, the manager talked, because managers run the lives of the artists. As you'll see this as they get bigger, the artists will just pawn everything off on the manager, unless you sleep with them, and then they'll let you do whatever you want. That's not true, sort of. But, so I spent the entire day, 12 hours, I got a photo book. Oh, and after I got done, I went home and I made Matis a hardback photo book, and I sent it to him. I sent it to his family, and it's something that sits on his desk. This is just something for any type of job. There are so many places to get books made. I use Adorama Pics because it's a real print. I know people use blurb books. I'm not a fan of just the way that works. But whatever you can do, after a photo shoot for somebody, spend a couple dollars to give them something that they're going to remember you by. What are they going to remember you by? John has a book that says Hayden downstairs on his desk. Did a student give you that? Right, so it's there, and he'll remember that. So when you're dealing with clients, give them something to remember you by. If you give them a small photo book or a compilation of a couple of prints, they're going to hang them up. They're going to keep it on their coffee table. They're going to put it there. And other people are going to see it, but they're going to remember you every time they open up that book and show it to somebody. So it may cost you a couple of dollars, but you're investing in yourself. You're leaving them with something to remember you by. And that doesn't get more important than that. But I spent the whole day just doing whatever I wanted. Here he's praying in the back of the bus, and I'm just shooting. I'm doing whatever I want. This shot ended up being the tour poster, and it ended up being I've got so many passes. There's a It ended up being, yeah, there it is. It ended up being the tour poster and the pass, and this is just one of those shots. This is at the TLA. It happened. I was in the right place. I saw this thing happening. I saw this light. It looks like crap up here. But I saw this light coming out from behind his head, and I was prepared to capture it. I had on there, I guess, the 70 to 200. I think it was the D3S at the time. 8,000 ISO, pushing the limits of what you could do, which we couldn't ever think of doing that 10 years ago. And it's using the gear that I have to its fullest. I know where I can push it. And we all shoot RAW, I hope. And you have the ability to just really make stuff kick ass. They wanted this for their tour poster. I won't go into the story of what they paid because that's another debacle. On the road, I ended up on the road with him. I said, Matis, I want to spend time with you on the road. Give me a call when I can do it. I only need 4 days. And that's what I tell every artist. I don't want to spend 6 weeks on the road with anybody again. That's too long to be away from the world. You literally are away from the world. You're in a bus with 11 people every night doing the same thing. So there were 4 dates. It was like South Carolina, DC, 2 other places, and it ended up in Atlantic City. And I'm like, all right, I don't have to fly back. Somebody can pick me up in AC. And I got on the road here. And again, he had his kids on the road with him. And I was just hanging out, taking pictures of them on the street. They were swimming in a fountain. And then this is them backstage. They're just sitting here. They got their headphones on so you don't go deaf. And they're just hanging outside stage. This is the stuff that other people don't get. I've shot Matis 28 times in front. Everybody in every city is going to get the same picture, right? 3 songs, everybody gets to get the same thing. So unless you get that access and you ask for it, it all starts with asking for the access. Nobody's just going to walk up to you and go, here's an all-access pass. Even when I first started, I walked up to the tour manager so they saw me and asked them if there was anything they needed. Do you need some extra pictures today? Because I'll be more than happy to take them and send them to you later. This was when we shot film and less people were doing digital and cluttering up the pit. And people think that I'm being a dick when I say that there's people cluttering up the pit. But it is a job and it is competition. I am going to get that shot. We had, remember Ed Marco, nobody knows him. He once told us in class, he goes, if I am going up against you to get a job, I am getting the job. He said it. But there's nothing wrong with that. He's like, I taught you, so I'm getting the job. And I guess he would have done it for whatever cost because he had a way, that you just have to own it. Get in there. You have to start somewhere. But I'm not a dick to people in the pit. Am I a dick to people in the? You weren't in the pit.
No, I was doing the outside.
That was my fault. I didn't want any photographers in the pit that night. I wanted access, and I've earned that access with Silvertide. I wanted to be the only one in the pit, but there were 2 video guys in there. But I got the access, and well, I don't know where I was going, but I keep losing trains of thought. How are we doing? Are we doing all right? Is this good? Is it boring? Tell me if it's boring. I hate being boring. Steven, you good? Thumbs up? What time is it anyway? I can't see that far. It's 11. I'm blind. I don't have a zoom on any of the thing right now. I'm really blind. But anyway, so on the tour with Matis, stuff like this. How many people get into the hotel room? He's sitting there with his kids at the end of the night watching cartoons, and they're in their Batman stuff. And I mean, this is the stuff that nobody gets to see unless you get the access, and you have to earn the respect of these artists. And anybody, just anybody in general, earn their respect. Just talk to them. And if you ever encounter artists, don't start talking about music. Just talk about something else. Find out what they're interested in and just be a human being. Don't be a fan. So the kids were sleeping on the bus. I didn't have a bunk, so Matis let me sleep in the back of the bus. And then the tour manager told me, and the guys on tour were like, he doesn't let anybody back there. So he must like you, not in that way, but he just might like you. And so I slept next to him for the 4 nights I was on the road. And then, the kids would come in, they'd jump on my back. I elbowed this one morning because he jumped on me and I was sleeping and I went like this. But anyway, he went in and he jumped in the bed with his dad. And I've got pictures where their both arms are up the way Matis's are. The other son rolled over and was like this. I mean, and I actually asked Matis, I said, is it all right if I take your picture with your kid? Because I felt this was one of those times where I should ask anyway. And he's like, keep going, just do it. And so I did. I took a couple. And if somebody gives you access and they give you permission, don't overdo it. Like, I remember the first Rolling Stone gig I ever did was to shoot Norah Jones. And this was shooting film. And I got the tour manager's number, so I had it in my phone. And I gave the guy a call after the show. And I'm like, is it all right if I come down backstage to maybe get some candids? And he's like, I'll send you up a pass. So he sent me up a pass, and I went downstairs. And he's like, Nora really doesn't like her photo being taken. And I said, can you introduce me? So he introduced me, and I'm like, hi, I'm shooting for Rolling Stone, and I would like to capture some candid moments if that's possible. She's like, I don't like my picture being taken. I said, can you give me a couple minutes, and I'll just take a couple shots and get out? And she said yes. And I didn't have a book or anything to show my work then, but we didn't have iPhones in 2003. And so she just sat in the dressing room playing with the opening act. They were playing guitars. They were singing. She just got done doing 3 hours of music, putting people to sleep. And it's good stuff, though. And she is awesome, but it was also raining at the Mann Center. So the tin roof had rain on it, and she was singing, and I felt like I was falling asleep. But so she's out there singing. She's singing in the dressing room, and I took 8 pictures. And I said, Nora, thank you, I'm done. And she goes, you're done already? And I said, yeah. I said, I'd only take a few. And then I walked out, and I was done. But it's just, don't overstay your welcome. Certain times, you just got to keep going. And that takes us back to that. Networking doesn't get more important than networking. If you don't get out there and tell people you exist, they're not going to just find you randomly online. It just doesn't happen that way. I sat around for a long time waiting for things to happen. I had my website set up. I had what I thought was quality work, and I saw people doing less quality work getting the gigs. But that was my fault. I didn't put myself into a situation to be successful. You have to put yourself out there. You have to talk to people. Sometimes doing the jobs that don't pay lead to jobs that do pay. You go and do a charity event. What happens at charity events? They're raising a lot of money. Fundraisers, they raise a ton of money. That means there's people with influence there. If they see you 2-3 times donating your time for a couple of hours to go shoot some charity that you're involved with, because everybody's into something. You want to stand for something and then go back it up. Call these people and say, hey, I'd like to shoot photos. I know you may not have the budget for it, but just print my name in the book, put my name on the website, let people know that I was here. And then when you're walking around, have your cards ready to give to people. Do people still use business cards these days? It's weird. It's weird. I have them. I have the hair picks too. I used to stamp the hair picks and give them to people with my number and everything. But at these events, you have people that are spending a lot of money to be there. And if they see you multiple times, they perceive you as being a professional photographer. They're going to try you out. Just let people know. You get introduced to somebody, and it's like, I run this Fortune 500 company. I need new headshots. Will you come in and do them? Now you're working for the CEO, right? It's probably a rap song about that. Working for the CEO. But yeah, so, hey Drew. So when you start getting jobs and being seen by these people, one thing leads to another. You just have to keep trying. You have to get out there. I don't know if I want to. Did Drew leave the room? How many people do you think are still photographers from when I went to school are still shooting today? I have a handful of friends that are still shooting. It's like maybe less than 10, maybe 6 or 7 that I know of personally that make it as a full-time photographer. It's not for everybody, but there are ways to still be a photographer and still do other things. Like I said, doing the jobs that you may not want to do to make money to allow you to do the things that you want to do, there's nothing wrong with doing that. You just got to keep trying at it. Yes. I made notes. What else did I write here? I wrote that. Yeah. That's what I've written. I'd like questions. I really would like questions. Because the last things I wrote here are just, knock down people's doors. I've heard stories. David LaChapelle, people know him? I had, on my Raw Talk, on my podcast, I had this guy, Ben Loyner, who's from England. And he said his friend, when he was in photo school in England, said, I am going to go to New York and knock on David LaChapelle's door and become his assistant. He went to New York and he knocked on David LaChapelle's door and he became his assistant. Get away from the computer. Stop emailing people. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but just, we're out of touch with people because of social media sometimes. There's a big thing to be said when you show up in person and you meet somebody. They see you. They see your work. You have to try. Like, assisting is something that I failed to do. That was one of my mistakes, was not working for other photographers to learn ways. I learned the hard way. I tried to do it all myself. I should have been learning from these assistants. There are a ton of photographers out there, and you have to find your way to find the ones that will work. Sam must call me 27 times a day going, is there anything I can do? Can I work? Maybe one day. Yeah, he calls everybody that's on my podcast, which is, there's nothing wrong with that because you're making yourself known. Are you a pain in the ass sometimes? Not so, yes. We're all pain in the asses. I was the biggest, Drew, was I the biggest pain in the ass in school? I was really a pain in the ass. That was bad, but that was annoying. That came to annoying. Yes, you don't want to be annoying. There's ways of doing things, and you never know until you ask. I mean, that's how I've gotten a lot of things. I ask for it. How did I get synthetic ice in my last loft that's now in Drew's garage? I asked for it. I called the company and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I pitched them. Pitch somebody on something. The worst thing they're going to say is no. The best thing they're going to say is yes. I mean, that's how you have to live with everything. Yeah, and it doesn't work every time with everything. Yeah. Question. You had a question. Yes.
How do I get a haircut for my son?
How do you get a hair pick for your son?
And two, how do I get out with you if you're shooting Nora Jones or someone
You
like
don't.
that? Come on.
It's a very rare situation where I let people go out on the road. Or
Carry your bag.
that I've said no, but I made like a pact back in the day with myself that I say no to everybody. And the reason that I said no to everybody is so that I didn't have to say yes to everybody. It's this is my thing with shooting shows. Now, I did have these guys, I got them extra passes to shoot because I wasn't doing a paid job. My thing is, if I'm taking somebody with me, it's somebody that I've worked with for a while. But I mean, they have to start somewhere. Like, I ran into Steven back there in the photo pit. Anybody listen to 104.5? You ever hear radio 104.5 News with Steven? That's Steven. He's Steven, brought to you by Yinling Lager. He does that. But I ran into Steven in the photo pit, and I liked his work. He shoots Canon, which is all right. There is nothing wrong with anything. If you can shoot with a tin can, then shoot with a tin can. But I liked Steven because he knew what he was doing, and I saw his work, and it was similar to mine. And he's working with me with Frono's Photo to do things. So when it came to going to concerts, I knew that I was in control of myself. I wouldn't take girlfriends to shows. I wouldn't take friends to shows because I knew that I had to watch them or take care of them, and I didn't want to interfere with the work I was trying to do. So my whole thing was I didn't want to ask for extra passes. It's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to get in there and shoot what I wanted to shoot and focus on that and not have to worry about anybody else. So that's why I said no to just about everybody. But now it's a little different. You never know. How do you get passes? You call and you ask. You have to find who to call. You start with managers and you just call and you ask. But you back it up with work that you've already done. You have to be prepared to show them something. Don't lead with, it's my first time shooting. You have to lead with, I'm shooting for so-and-so. And if you don't have something to shoot for, start a blog and call it a music blog because they let just about everybody in. And that's that whole thing with that Beyonce thing. The problem that has happened with the music industry is that everybody has been able to get a pass without showing quality work. And I think part of the problem are the people that are giving the passes for not vetting people enough before they get into the pit. It's their fault. It's a lot of times their fault for not doing it, and I think they need to do a better job of that. But getting passes, you just ask. You have to ask, but lead with quality work, let them know who you're working for, and then go from there. And that's where it starts. Hair pick, I may have an extra hair pick in the bag somewhere, because this one's used. Questions? Come on, questions. Come on, let's go. We got time. I can't see that far. Yes? It's a good question. No, you're right. Question for anybody listening out there. How do we use, what is my feeling on Instagram as a marketing tool? It's a great marketing tool. if anybody tells you that real photographers don't shoot Instagram and it's not real photography, there are people that have never picked up a camera before that have 500,000 followers on Instagram, and it pisses me off. It pisses me off because now they're getting jobs to be photographers, yet they don't know what they're doing. But that's not their fault. That's what they did. I look at that as, why don't I have 500,000 subscribers, right? I mean, everything is like that with me. It's a competition. But there is nothing wrong with it. I put work up there and people comment on it. You have to put yourself out there, you put your stuff out there to market and online, and you interact with people. And remember this, it's not all about pushing. It's not all about selling, selling, selling. It's telling, telling, telling. You're telling these stories. You're giving people a reason to interact with what you're doing and to come back for more. So if you're putting up Instagrams that are interesting, ask questions. If you're putting up those portraits on Facebook, don't go like, hey, today I shot portraits of kids. Go, today I photographed these kids. What are some interesting moments you had with your kids that you captured images of? Just ask a question. Everything is about engaging. I didn't build what I have built by not engaging with the readers, by not interacting. Like, Sam, how did you get me to review your portfolio? Did you just ask? And I made content out of it. So I used Sam to make content. But it's all a trade. I gave you time. You gave me content. I'm filming this. This is all part of content. I'm going to hold on because Steven's changing the battery. Is it good? Did you miss me telling that I used Sam? How's this one doing? This one good still? Yeah. See, I don't want to have to question. See, with assistants, I don't want to have to question what they're doing because Steven knows what he's doing. Sam asked. I reviewed his portfolio, but the Instagram thing is where we were at, right? Telling stories. You want to engage as much as possible with everybody, and the way to do that is to leave something off with a question. I put up portraits of people, and it's like, what do you not just the what do you think. You have to find a way. It's all psychology. It's a game to try to get people to click things, but don't be spammy about it. Don't do stuff that's not ethical. Lead people in with something that works. So you have portraits, maybe of a kid throwing spaghetti on his head. And you're like, you put it up there. Here's a crazy shot I picked. What are some crazy moments you had with your kids or brothers or sisters? And then people start interacting. That's how they start liking your posts and commenting on your posts. And anybody ever here heard about buying Facebook likes, buying YouTube views? Has anybody ever heard of this? Buying Twitter followers? Has anybody ever done it? It's stupid. Why is it stupid? Do you want fake people or do you want people that actually mean something? If you have 1 million followers and they're all fake, are they ever going to give a crap about your work? I'd rather have 1,000 people that give a crap than 1 million people who don't care. That's true. So the Instagram question, I use it. I don't like the square format personally. I did embrace it early on and used it, and people are like, well, it's not really photography. It is photography. You are capturing moments. You know good photos when I didn't write this down. Maybe I did, but I missed it. You know quality work when you see it. There's a lot of crap out there. You see it every day on Facebook. People that are so-called photographers posting what they think is, well, they're not even calling themselves photographers. They're just posting snapshots. But you read the comments. This is fantastic. This is the greatest picture ever. People have been so dumbed down by crappy work over the last 5-6 years that when they see something great that you guys may be creating, then you are going to stand out above everybody else. But you have to let them know that it's there. So I see this work and you just go like this because it's just some bad stuff. But you can't just tell them that it's bad. You don't want to be that troll. You don't want to be that guy on YouTube that says your work sucks. One of the reasons I started YouTube making videos is there was a guy who was putting out videos, I don't want to say who it was, and I thought the information he was doing was really bad. I thought he was giving false information. So I decided to make my own videos to prove that I could do it. Instead of telling the guy that he's a moron, I just made my own stuff with what I thought was right. And that's how I started. I just kept making video after video after video of that. So quality work, anyway. Questions? Keep coming, let's go. Yes?
How did you turn Sam's work into your content and be ethical about it?
And be ethical about it?
Well, how did you do it first?
Oh, I screen captured, I did a video of us talking on Skype. But I asked him first if that's okay. Did I ask you? I asked people.
I don't care regardless.
Well, he was asking me for something, and everything, part of how I built what I built was content. Everything that I did turned into content. Somebody called me on Skype and wanted to ask me questions, because that's what I did when I first started. I let people call me on Skype and ask photo questions. I said, is it all right if I record it to post it later? And nobody has really said no. So what I did is Sam showed me his work, and we ended up making 4 videos. And there's people that still comment on the videos and tell me I was too hard on him, saying that he's young and you just ripped his work. I didn't rip his work apart. I just said it like it was. Like, when you're critiquing somebody's stuff, you don't just rip it apart. You point out what you like about it and say what you can do better to improve it. There's a lot of people out there who critique wrong, and you see that online now. It's like, this is crap. This sucks. This is the worst thing ever. Okay, why does it suck? What don't you like about it? Point out the positive and go like, I'm critiquing an 18-year-old's work. I know that he's just starting. He hasn't gone to photo school yet. Why would I critique that as if he was a seasoned pro doing, if you come to me with a D4 and you just started and you have crappy work, I'm going to tell you have crappy work. Because there's that whole thing about thinking that the gear is going to make you better. You can outshoot anybody with an Instagram. I went into a photo pit and shot Instagram one night and outshot the people in the pit. And it was just like, oh, you can do it. If you have the eye, you can see it. You capture these moments, you can do it with anything. But with Sam's stuff, I saw his work, gave him some pointers, sent him out to shoot. That's what he did for the next 2 weeks until we had a final 10 images that he used to get into school. But you have to look at it as he's a kid just starting out. I'm not going to look at it as if he's an all-time pro. Yes? From hockey to? Well, hockey was starting to, sports is a very tough area to make it in. Anything's a tough area to make it in. But Almost Famous came out. And then the movie said I wanted to be on the road. And that was what I wanted to do after that point. So my transition was into music. I love telling stories. And it doesn't matter if it's hockey, it doesn't matter if it's a wedding, and it doesn't matter if it's a concert. I want to tell photo stories of anybody. Just capturing 12 or 20 images of somebody doing their job, a glass blower blowing glass, an accountant doing their thing. You can tell stories, you can make it interesting, and that's the challenge. And that's what I loved about I love the challenge of getting access to things that you may not normally get access to just by asking. But the transition came to just didn't matter what I was shooting as long as I was making photo stories. And the movie didn't hurt. So, yes?
Why didn't you, go into any other kind of sports or anything like that? Why did you choose music? Are you a musician?
No, I can't play anything. Never could. I get confused. People think that I play music because I look the part. Why did I choose music? Like I said, Almost Famous. The movie showed me that Cameron Crowe was really a 15-year-old working for Rolling Stone in the 70s. It's a different world now, but he was a 15-year-old touring with bands. And I was like, I want to do that. Those people are interesting. Not saying that normal people aren't interesting, but it just seems that you do interesting things with musicians and rock stars. You travel the world. I've been around the world as a photographer because of what I've done with music and what I've done with my own site. And I just thought that they became interesting characters. And I wanted to show that they were interesting behind the scenes more so than live shots. So, does that answer that? Hands? Come on, you got to have questions. You're graduating in like 3 days. I can't see. Somebody just yell. Yeah.
What did you do immediately following graduation?
Yeah, I went and worked. I was doing freelance gigs. I ended up working at Carl Wolf. Where's Drew? I worked in their lab, pushing buttons, printing crap. That's where I was actually sitting during 9/11 in a black and white dark room by myself, listening to Howard Stern and hearing that whole thing go on. That's where I worked, and I hated it because I'm a photographer. I'm not a button pusher. I'm not meant to just sit in the back room. And so I'm like, guys, I'm done with this. And I was working for their competitor, shooting photos. Not that it mattered. Who was their competitor at the time? Oh, I was working for DeVore. I was in DeVore's darkroom shooting for Carl Wolf. So I would leave DeVore early to go shoot for Carl Wolf shooting sports, which is what I wanted to do. So that is what I did. I struggled doing that. I found my own gigs, trying to get some corporate jobs. Ended up at Kerper Studio. Don't know if that's still there these days. Probably not. Well, he was old anyway. Hated printing other people's work that I thought sucked. I just was like, I'm a photographer. I should be shooting pictures, not locked away here in the darkroom doing other people's work and seeing that they're getting paid for it. But I struggled for a good 10 years sitting around, not doing the odd jobs, living at home. That it just was what it was. I didn't find my way yet. You have to fail. You're going to fail at something, but you learn from everything that you do to become better. And I failed, and I failed, and I failed, and I succeeded at certain things. I mean, I shot for Rolling Stone. I don't see that as the most amazing thing ever for some reason. I don't see that as being a major success. I'm very hard to please. I don't please. Yeah, I won't say please myself. I just said it. That's easier. But where was I going? I lost my train of thought at please myself.
Past history, where you started out.
Right, past history. I got to the point where I started doing weddings. I enjoy shooting weddings. I don't enjoy the 2-year wait to shoot a wedding. People call you, I'm getting married in 2015. If that is what you want to do, own the hell out of it and do it. Do the bridal shows. Do find the blogs and websites that are out there. And I wanted to do this thing on WMMR to give away a rock and roll wedding. Because I was looking, it was before my website started. It was a rock and roll wedding. I was going to brand myself as a rock and roll photographer shooting weddings. It would have worked. I would have given away a free wedding to shoot somebody's wedding on a day that I had open. And do a contest for it, and that would have given me a ton of promotion, and people would have checked out my work. But I did go into weddings for a good 2 years, and I priced myself higher than what the other $1,000 to $2,000 people were. I was in the $4,000 to $5,000 range because you're going to pick up a certain client at that level. If you can prove your work, you can get that. You just have to sell people on what you do, and just remember, if you're going for weddings, not every client's the right one for you. It's not always the other way around. It's not always that they may not hire you, you may not hire them, because certain people you may not get along with, and you know that, and they know it. There's a certain mesh. I've never had a bridezilla because I've gotten along with everybody that I photographed. So that's a good thing. But weddings, I did weddings for 2 years, and I've made enough money that I was able to start my website and sustain myself and get to a point where I didn't pursue taking those weddings anymore. But I still would take them. Now, you don't ever want to stop shooting. It's important, even if you don't like weddings. I mean, if somebody called me today and said, I'm getting married Saturday, can you shoot it? I'd be like, sure, I just want to shoot. I just shot on Friday. I shot a model, and I was just like, look, I just want to shoot. Come over, and I want to take some pictures, because I haven't shot a lot. So she came over, we took pictures, and I shot. Did I answer that question? I don't even remember the question. I forget where I started. Yeah. And that was it. And that's the story of me. She's not even sitting there anymore. She must have liked it. Yeah. Do I have ADD? No. I've never been diagnosed with anything like that. I don't. Some people have it, but no, I haven't been diagnosed. I can pay attention to certain things. What else? Should I stop? Drew, should I stop now? No, we got hands. I see hands somewhere. You. Well, yeah. You're going to hear a lot of things coming out of school. It's a great portfolio builder, right? That's a great one. It's good for your portfolio, right? So's money. You have to be smart about it. There's certain jobs that have upside, and you'll just know, you'll have a feel for it. There's certain jobs that you just should not take. If somebody's like, oh, I've got 12 more after this, can you give me a break on the first one? It's like, no, let me do the first couple, and I will definitely take care of you as we keep going on. Because you'll all fall into the trap. We've all fell into it. It's not a trap. It's just people want to use you to get pictures. That's what they want. They want to do that, and they'll tell you anything they want to tell you, and they'll tell you, I've got a lot more jobs behind this. And sometimes you take that risk. Sometimes you take a chance and you try to make it your own. But don't always let somebody dictate to you what you're going to give them. If they don't have a lot of money, be like, this is what I'm going to do for you. Because this is what what's your budget? Yeah, marketing and selling and like, rules of engagement when it comes to selling. Somebody's asking you, what's your price? You can't give somebody a price. You can't give them a price if you don't know what they need. Because then they're going to try to hold you to that. What do you charge for a wedding? What do you need? What's your budget? Turn it around. Let somebody tell you what they have to spend, and then you have the option to say, no, that's too little, or I can make that work. Here's what I can do. So you don't want to turn things down because somebody may not want to pay you $3,000 to shoot something. They're like, oh, we only have $2,000. And it'd be like, you know what I could do? I could still do the best, regardless of making zero money or $10,000 to do a shoot, I am shooting the same way. I'm going to do the best job I can no matter what. I don't care if I'm making a ton of money or not. You have to keep shooting however you're going to shoot. But work with people. Ask them what their budgets are. It's important. $2,000 is a lot of money. If you have the availability, then by all means try to work with somebody and just tell them what you're going to give them for that. They're going to be very appreciative of what you did. And ask them to try and not tell anybody what you charge them. I mean, that's how you protect yourself. And it is what it is. Sometimes somebody's going to be like, oh, but you charge them this. You take that risk and be like, well, it was a different situation, but here's what I can do for you. A lot of it comes around to what is your budget. Ask people, you run the conversation. Don't let them ask you first what you cost. See where their budget is, and most people are just going to tell you. And then you work from there. I mean, it's better to make something than it is to make nothing.
What do you think of the websites that actually have their pricing listed on it?
Websites and listing your price. I don't believe in listing wedding prices online because anybody that calls me for a wedding and goes, how much do you charge? I said, are you price shopping? Have you looked at my work? And I do not tell them prices because they're just price shopping. They don't care about quality. And if that's all they care about is money, then I'm not the guy for them. I don't want to shoot for them because I know they're going to be like, I have $1,500 or $1,800 to spend, but I want 2 albums and I want 2 photographers and I want you to shoot the whole day. So for me, I don't post them online. You want them to talk to you on the phone. They're going to email you and ask you your prices. What would be a good time to speak with you on the phone? I have different options. It would be much easier for me to tell you on the phone. Then you can ask, what is your budget? Then you can decide your pricing from there. You can play with you don't want to play with your pricing. You don't want to be 2 for these guys and 8 for these guys. You want to try to stay consistent with what you're doing and be in a certain place. But I don't believe in listing. Do you agree with that? You agree with that? I can't hear you. What? What do you say? They agree. Oh, the hair blocks the ears. Yeah, all right, so good. That make sense?
Have you, early on in your career, had something go terribly wrong, and how did you handle it?
Well, tell how terribly wrong.
I'm saying, like, you screwed up the shoot for somebody, something went wrong, you missed a shot.
Well, you're always going to miss shots.
Okay, but they told you about it. They wanted.
Well, I almost cursed again. I almost said screw them. Look, you're going to miss certain things. There can't be a perception that you're going to get everything every time. With weddings, you ask, in general, or in what you're going to shoot, you ask what these guys would like you to shoot. Try to get a list so you get an understanding of what the most important things are so that you can capture it. Have I ever screwed up that bad? No. I'm going to knock on some wood. You never know. I've shot pictures without film in the camera back in the day. I've gotten too excited and I've opened the back of the camera and exposed the 4 or 5 shots that were back there. I've done that. But there's nothing where I haven't been able to salvage what I've done. But I don't think I've screwed up that bad. But if you ever do screw up, you have to own it. There are no excuses. I bleeped up, right? If you own it, you diffuse the situation the best that you can. If you start making excuses, somebody's going to get pissed off. The easiest way to stop the altercation or to stop somebody from yelling at you is to own it and say, I messed up, but here is what I'm going to do to make it better. If it was a once-in-a-lifetime moment, you're screwed. It happens. You have to, Drew used to tell us this, I think it was about weddings. If you screw up, you have to go to everybody at that wedding who had a camera and ask them for their work. Because you need to do something. You need to make amends for what you did. But if you screw up a portrait shoot, the card got deleted, something happened, you call them and go, look, I'm very sorry, I lost this work, here's how I'm going to make it up to you. We're going to shoot again, I'm going to give you X, Y, and Z, I'm sorry that it happened, let's get it, let's do the shoot. You have to own it, you have to be upfront. You can't make excuses. You have to find a solution for it. And if a client isn't happy, I ask them, what aren't you happy with? What can I do to make you happy? What would make you a happy client? You just have to do that. And sometimes there's assholes and you don't want to work with them anyway. Yes, Drew?
How about delivery of goods? What's a good turnaround time and a promise to stick to the time?
Well, realistic time. You have to know realistically what your schedule holds. I'm a big proponent of editing my own work. I don't farm that out. I think if you do a lot of weddings, you can start farming that stuff out if somebody has your style down. The last wedding I did, I returned the work in 3 days just because I edited it real quick and got them their stuff back. But be realistic with people. Don't try to deliver something before it's ready. Tell them. Like I'm doing a shoot this afternoon or tonight, and they're like, can we turn it around for tomorrow? I'm like, I can do that. I can get you some. If somebody's asking, I used to, or I still do, I question a lot of things, and I come up with like, I could do this better if I did it this way. And the client asked me, is it okay if we're going to need that picture really small to put in the magazine that they're running it in? And I'm like, sure, that's no problem. It's just easier sometimes to say yes to these things, and it allows you to get more credibility and to say no to certain things if you need to. But little simple things, it's just easier to say yes if it's not a big deal. Because then people just think you're giving them a lot. They're getting a lot from you. But be realistic with delivering your product. Do you want to talk about what to deliver or just time frame?
Just time frame.
Yeah.
If you do something for free,
Well, if you do something for free, they better not be busting your ass to give it to them right away. I'm a fan of editing my work. I tell people, oh, can we get this up? I was shooting Made in America Fest, and they wanted me to, they're like, oh, we want you to edit, we want to put these pictures on Instagram real quick. I'm like, no. I'm like, I have to take home these images, and I have to process them. There is a big difference between my work from that show and the wannabe photographers that were in the pit. You can see it when you look on Getty. Not all Getty. There's good Getty photographers. Just certain people, you see that work and you go, you know they didn't process it. They're shooting JPEG. They're not, and there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever works for you. There's no definitives in art. Do whatever works for you. But I just told these guys I'm not giving you those shots because some of my shots turn into black and whites. Some of them need to be pumped up. They all need to be tweaked one way or another. John.
When you do make a promise in terms of the delivery date, keep it.
No.
Seriously?
But yeah, why wouldn't you?
Exactly. That's really important.
I mean, if you say you're going to do something, you don't have to do it, but you would try to do it the best that you can. And if not, you find a solution, a way to, I wasn't able to capture that for you. But this is what else I did. I mean, to me, it's about over-delivering, giving people things. I said it earlier, give people what they'll ask for things, but give them what they need. They may want something, give it to them, but then give them another option. Because a lot of times you have a better eye for capturing images than what they thought they wanted. So don't give them just what they asked for, give them more. Got it? Steven, we good? I got a half thumbs up now? No, he owned it. I talked, it's whatever time it is. That's like an hour and 30-some minutes, right? I recorded this. We're going to edit it. We'll put it online if you really want to sit through it again. I'm putting it out there for people to watch because everybody wants to learn something. And this is content for me. I can chop it up and ask questions. So any feedback right off the bat? Good, bad, and different? Now you have to get out there in the world and do something. That's what it comes down to. So that's it. Thank you. Thank you, John. Oh, wait. Wait. He's got a point.
I just want to once again say thank you to Jared. What's really special, there's a lot of special things about Jared.
Lots of them.
What's really special about him is he said a lot of things your teachers have been saying to you since you walked in the door. You got to believe in yourself if you want other people to believe in you. You have to do it. You are responsible for your success. We will help you, but you are responsible for your success. Find out what inspires you. That's what he does, right? Find out what inspires you. That's how you succeed. Find out what inspires you. And be proud. Be outstanding. Show off. You guys are our work. That's why he's here. Because he is our work. We're very proud to claim him as an alum. We're very proud of the things he does. He's the man, and every one of you can be the man or woman. You do it. You got the talent.
And say it, I am the shit.
Nah, I can't do that again. I am the man.
How about Antonelli is it?